successful. I look for and find opportunities where others see nothing. I am a lifetime learner. I am solution focused. I see only solutions. I am a solution. This space is your go-to practical, mind transforming space where very, very empowering conversations are had to help you overcome life's biggest challenges. So whether you're struggling with your health, if you're struggling with your well-being, if you're struggling with your, self-esteem, you're struggling with your home and family, you're struggling with your relationship or your marriage, or you're struggling with your career or your business, or even your spirituality, this is the place to be, right? And here is where you would hear conversations that will catalyze you and transform your mind and then transform your life. So we're here to serve you, but principally, this podcast is about mind and life transformation. So if that's what you're looking for, you are in the right place. Now, the topic for today is really, really very, very critical. We're talking religion, burden, curse, blessings on and for Africans. Wow. And, the focus is going to be on the past and the future. I've got, Kunle Soriyan again, with me on this episode. He just likes those difficult conversations.
Yes.
He's a great mind. He's a very good friend of mine that inspires me. He's a brother that uplifts. He's a futurist that sees beyond boundaries. He's a disruptor who redefines possibilities. He's a global thought leader who raises leaders. He's a strategist who solves complex problems. He's a wise man who provokes innovation, disruption, and creativity. He's a powerhouse who keeps empowering. He's a movement that provokes rapid movement and momentum. He's a great man that inspires greatness in other people. He's an exceptional blend between gifts, skills, wisdom, and visionary leadership and insight. He's a recipient of the prestigious President of the United States Lifetime Achievement Award. He's a Forbes, Wall Street Journal, and USA Today best-selling author. Welcome with me, my very good friend, my brother from another mother, PK. You need no introduction, but I had to just give you your flowers and stripes. Welcome,
thank you, brother. Thank you. The pleasure is mine. I'm excited. Every time.
Wow.
It's a privilege to be here.
Between the last episode and this episode, we set Africa and Africans on fire. And,
I know.
And incredible things are beginning to spring up.
Awesome.
With a lot of conversations that we're already, starting to have.
Great.
So the future has really become black since
That's
the conversation that we last had a few
Let's
weeks ago.
go.
So listeners, this promises to be another thought-provoking conversation. This is where the journey of your transformation begins, and there's no point in us keeping you waiting. Now, PK, for the last 10 years of my life, I've studied the world's most significant, the world's most powerful, the world's most successful people, whether it's in sports, whether it's in music, whether it's in enterprise, whether it's in corporate world, whether it's in politics, whether it's war generals, and I've teased out 50 of their core secrets and principles of success. And I know that my team is shared with that compendium of work.
Yes.
It's going to come out soon as a book, The 50
Fantastic.
Secrets of the World's Most Successful People. And it cuts across race, it cuts across, religion.
Yes.
There are Chinese people that I study, there are Black people that I study, there are Caucasians that I study. And these 50 secrets are very, very common to them. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot, right? One of my guests, I asked her, Michelle McKinney-Hammond, I asked her to bring out 7, and she said it was one of the most difficult things that she had ever done. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Which of these, out of these 50, which are your 7 top principles and secrets that you have taught, that you have seen, that you have lived your own life in? Share with me in the next 7 to 10 minutes your top 7 secrets.
Yes, first of all, it's a great material. I can't wait for it to become a book. The world should wait for it. Incredible resource. My 7 will be number 1, identity. Right? I am big on identity because right? There's so many definitions of you. And most people don't understand that it is impossible to live the world without enduring many definitions of you. And your ability to chisel through all of that and find that which represents you and your unique journey, right, is probably one of the greatest endeavor you will ever undertake. And the greatest human achievement, as far as I'm concerned, is the courageous definition of your identity, right? Because on top of that, you can build everything, right? The moment you are born, you lose yourself. You lose yourself before you know yourself, because you are born. A second after you are born, you become a victim. Everybody in the world, a second after you are born, you become a victim. How are you a victim?
Wow.
Because you fell into the hands of adults. From the doctor to the nurses, to the billboards, to your chauffeur, to your dad, your mom, your cousins, your brother, your siblings, your environment, your neighborhood, the movies, the novels, the comics, all of the experience you are going to have for the next 18 years, depending on the country you are in. It could be longer, 25 years, 30 years, will be controlled by the adults of your life. Now, if they were foolish, you have a high propensity to be foolish, because they're going to be suggesting all kinds of things that will attempt to define your identity for you, right? If they were wise, you have a high propensity to become wise, because they're going to be doing the same thing. Now, whether they are wise or they are foolish, they are both going to still attempt to suggest what they understand from the context of their own experience versus who you are designed and made to be, which they don't know, which nobody else will know except you and your spirit with your maker. I'm going to make that articulation, right? And so you are a victim, because a victim is anyone who has no control over its necessary due human experiences. That is a victim. The same definition passes for a slave. The same definition passes for a poor person. A victim and a poor person and a slave are all equal, because they are all incapable of, governing their necessary human experiences. The poor person cannot do what he wants. The slave cannot do what he wants. The victim is not doing what he wants. The victim is being forced to do what he wants, what he doesn't want to do. The slave is being dictated to do what he doesn't want to do. The poor person cannot afford to do what he really wants to do. So they are all equal by that definition. Once you have no control over your necessary due human experiences, you are either a slave, a poor person, or a victim, and they are all the same. Now, every human being is going to be that for at least 18 years, because as long as adults are in charge of your life, you are a victim. It doesn't matter what they are teaching you. You are receiving what you are not in control of, and they are teaching you what they understand. That is not necessarily your journey. So you are a victim. And in that journey of 18 years, you are going to receive all kinds of stimulus, all kinds of influences. Nobody is self-made. We are all products of influences of all kinds. Now, you need some form of intervention, spiritually, I believe, and then with human beings who understand that spiritual journey to help you to articulate the sound that you are born to make. There's so much sound in the world, and the resonance is what will bring your own greatness. Now, if you are making the wrong sound, you're going to be getting the wrong resonance, right? And there's something also called sympathetic resonance. There is a lot of other people that are supposed to resonate with what you represent, right? To form your greatest power and legacy. And once you are giving the wrong sound, you are going to be experiencing the wrong resonance. And so you're going to be having the wrong people, the wrong environment, and the wrong moments in your life. And that's the meaning of poverty. When people go to jail, that's what it means. Wrong sound, wrong resonance, wrong outcome. When people become poor, when people cannot define their meaning, when people struggle through life, that is what is going on, right? So I'm big on identity. I can defend that to the day I die. It's the foundation of everything. A poor person is someone who is not in control of that. I say that some people are so poor, all they have is money. Some people are so terribly poor, all they have is money. Because the identity game is everything. So identity for me, being solution focused, there's no time for that, but being solution focused will be the next thing for me, right? And you can't do that if you don't get comfortable with the weight of imperfections, because imperfections essentially are the representation of all solutions. If today was perfect, tomorrow will be unnecessary. If the Garden of Eden was perfect, Satan would not be there. If Adam was perfect, Eve would not be useful, right? There is no level of newness you can birth except for the recognition of a state of imperfection. So everything is in a state of imperfection that becomes the guarantee of the next level. The guarantee of the next level, the continuity of tomorrow's people, the engagement of tomorrow's people is tied to the imperfection of today. The solutions we are going to see tomorrow of today. And so people have to get better. People really have to get better in the way they see and interpret imperfections. We burden ourselves with imperfections. We defeat ourselves with imperfection, forgetting that that imperfection actually is the strength of your tomorrow. And you have to learn to be comfortable in your imperfection, to build solution blueprints around those imperfections to form your next level of power. iPhone 14 was in iPhone 13. iPhone 13 was in iPhone 12 as an imperfection, as a loophole. In the excellence of everything, there is an imperfection that defines the next level of a thing, right? The next level of a thing is hidden as a loophole in the excellence of the thing. So in the excellence of this watch is the next level of this watch, and it's an imperfection in this wristwatch. If you are not comfortable with imperfection, you will arrogantly, religiously beat yourself out of your next level. You will be complaining about what you should be probing. Number 3 is mission-oriented, which is everybody is born not just to shape culture, but with an agenda to install in the world. And the moment you miss that, it will be like somebody having a lot of sex but not having conception. You will be busy, you will be around, but you will not be present. The universe will recognize your force when you learn to lace your movement with your own unique agenda in the universe. And most people think that success is an agenda. No, success is an instrument in your agenda. It is never the agenda, right? The agenda of Bill Gates in the world today is not to be a billionaire. You see, Elon is a billionaire, but what he's doing in the world, if you take Elon out of the US election, probably Donald Trump will not be president again. You see what I'm saying? So you have to recognize that success is a means to an end, it's never the end. You need a different mission laced with the movement of your success, right? And that is your agenda. So dreaming, I believe that the human mind must visualize consistently. And I believe that that visualization is a duty because you are being visited. I don't think that we dream. I think we are visited by dreams. And I say to people that when you are visited, your capacity, when you say you are dreaming, what you are doing is recognizing the dream, hosting the dream, and giving the dream residency in your life. And most people don't know how to do that. And that is why they do a lot. They do so much, but it doesn't seem to add up, right? When you learn to align with design, you understand that everything you want is gravitating towards you. You are not trying to create, you are trying to discover and to align with the design that has been given to you. You make things because they are available. You can't make what is not available, right? So you are being visited. And I say to people, you don't pursue your dreams, you position for your dreams, because your dreams are designed to gravitate towards you. So you are being visited. If you don't learn to keep your mind alert and to be open to a realm that transcends matter, you have to see the metaphysical and take a position there. there's just a limit to what you can create on this side of heaven. There's just a limit. Everything we see on the earth is a representation of a metaphysical truth. Everything we do on the face of the universe, your shoe, your food, your glasses, your wristwatch, everything around you, your internet, everything around you is a representation of a metaphysical truth. And once you can make that connection, your own dominance is sure. So I believe in dreaming. I believe in adventure capital. That's the word I call it. And it's a combination of so many things. Adventure capital, boldness, strength. You use the word selling, restarting, disruption, understanding failure, intentionality, risk, disruptions,
Wow.
all of
Wow.
those words
You packed them. I said 7, PK. I said 7. You couldn't resist.
I couldn't. It's
Bundling 15 under
it's
one.
amazing.
Wow.
It's amazing. That's why I said that book has to come out soon. That book has to come out soon.
Wow.
The world needs to read
coming out
that.
soon. Coming out soon.
6
Wow,
is
this is
nimble
profound.
elasticity. Number 6 is nimbleness,
Wow.
elasticity, the capacity to spot change at a moment's notice. Learning and development. That's nimbleness right there. You cannot
Wow.
be ready, because I say to people, if you are ready, you are late. Check it. Every time you are fully ready, everybody is gone. So you got to be wise to know that nimbleness, elasticity is what we need. Number 7 is benevolence. To understand that your strength is the comfort of the world. Your strength, your shoulder is the resting place for the weak. And everybody cannot articulate value at your frequency. When you have the grace and providence to be able to sit in a place of power, your duty to the universe is a mission to society. That somehow somebody must find its next reading because of the strength of your own shoulder that they can lean on. That's it for me.
Wow. Wow. This is profound, man. You combine like 25 of the 50 under 7, PK. That's
I kid
not
you not.
fair. That's not fair. But I like where you landed. If you've ever watched the documentary, The Men That Built America,
Correct.
these were the most benevolent men.
Yes.
They were the most benevolent men. J.P. Morgan, John D. Rockefeller, Henry Ford, Cornelius Vanderbilt.
Yes.
These guys single-handedly built the oil and gas industry, the railroads and transportation.
They built America as a whole. It's
the manufacturing production line, which Henry Ford, set in place because he wanted cars to be cheap. So these guys, and please make sure that you go and watch that documentary, because this is where Africa is now, is where they were. And this is the time that we need to understand those fundamental principles. And one of the most fundamental principles was their benevolence.
That's it.
They gave.
They did
more than they got.
They did.
In Africa, we want to get more than we are given. At the end of their lives, these guys started competing to give more than each other.
Correct.
They were they were trying to outcompete themselves by giving. And that's why their trust has more money now than it ever had then.
Correct.
They had sown the seeds.
Correct.
And now generations after them are reaping the harvest.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
Wow. So let's dive into our subject matter today. That wasn't our subject matter. Our subject matter is about religion.
Correct.
Has it been our burden? Has it been our curse? Has it been a blessing for us African? That's the subject matter. But I want to ask you first, what is religion? What did we used to practice? And was that of any value to us then?
So first of all, religion is not God. It doesn't matter what faith represents it. Religion is a human attempt to capture God. It is not God.
Please say that again. Say that again. They need to hear it. When I say this to people, they think I'm mad. They think I'm crazy.
That's what they think, because they don't get it.
Please say it again. Please say it again.
Religion is not God. And it doesn't matter what faith represents that. Religion is a human attempt to capture God. It is not God. And And we have to be clear that religion is the social engineering of spirituality and faith. It is not spiritual and it is not faith. It's the social engineering by man to institutionalize God into a systemic format that allows the human weakness to find comfort in the regimentation of man by man. It is not God. And religion, fortunately, has a lifespan of 50 years, as far as I'm concerned. I don't see religion in the future. Religion as we know it, organized religion as we know it, has a lifespan of 50 years. Spirituality will expand, let's be clear. Faith will grow, let's be clear. But organized religion as we know it will not survive the future. 3 generations will humble it. Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and Gen Beta. Those 3 generations don't have the reverence. They don't have the regimentation that religion needs to sit in. Religion needs a chronic esteem gap. He needs fear and opacity. He needs ignorance. He needs fear, and he needs opacity, regimentation to find expression. Those 3 generations, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and Gen Beta, don't have that. Then their commitment to freedom, their commitment to transparency and accountability, right? And essentially their commitment to the flatness of the world through technology will make them fact check anything, because religion requires the adulteration of knowledge for its strength. You have to lie to keep religion going. And with the flatness that technology brings, these young people will fact check anything, and they will know that this is a lie. This is not going to work. A young man in Canada at a conference I was speaking, and the young man during the Q&A asked a question. He said, there were only 2 people in the Garden of Eden, and the Garden of Eden crashed all the same. There were only 2 people in the whole world, and the Garden of Eden crashed. If God could not manage 2 people in the garden, how is he managing 8 billion people in the world? How is he managing 8 billion people? You see, it made sense. You just can't throw him away. You have to answer that question. And by God's grace, of course, I answer the question. But you can't say, what nonsense is this saying? You are irreverent. You are not respecting God. No. You will lose his generation, because it's a generation of questions. And those who will mentor that generation must be a generation of answers. So you have a generation of questions. Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and Gen Beta, they are a probing generation. They are a question-sensitive generation. The generation to give them the baton and to mentor them must be a generation of answers and clarity. You see? So, but whether we understand this dynamic or not, the truth is religion cannot survive. Religion as we know it, organized religion as we know it, cannot survive the future. So spirituality is not religion. Spirituality is the ability to communicate connectedness and relatability. Spirit, soul, and body. It means that when you are spiritual, the more spiritual you become, the more relatable you become. The more spiritual you become, the more diffused you become. The more connected you become. The proof of spirituality is connectedness. So for me, the person who gave us the internet is more spiritual than a million pastors, as far as I'm concerned.
Wow.
Right? So we need to understand these dynamics. Now, the blocks of spirituality is a different ball game altogether. And part of the challenge, people speak about ATR, African traditional religion, and we speak about that, and we try to say that we should return to what our fathers worship, and that Christianity is a white man's religion. People say those kind of things, but first of all, Christianity is not a white man's religion, right? Sorry, let me define that. Christianity is a white man's religion because the Bible did not call the Christ and his followers Christians. Human beings called Christ's followers Christians, not God. There is no verse in the scriptures where God said, my Christians, or my Christian sons and daughters. God did not call anybody a Christian. Jesus did not call anybody a Christian. There is no material from God or from his apostles or from his disciples that called anybody a Christian. The nomenclature Christian or Pentecostal or evangelical or Catholic are all human inventions. God did not call anybody that. The Lord God knows those who are his, and let everyone that nameth the name of the Lord depart from iniquity, right? The idea is that, in fact, before people were called Christians, the followers of Christ were called the people of the way. They were called the people of the way because these guys were way makers. These guys were creating stuff. These guys were creating relief. They were creating relief and advancement in society. These guys were, at some point, somebody said that, who are these guys who have not gone to school? They are not learned. How are they able to talk this way? Because the way they were talking, they were communicating like they had PhD, like they had bachelor's degree, like they have master's degree, like they have the learning of their time. And they were questioning them. These are fishermen. These guys didn't go to school. How are they communicating like this? And somebody said, oh, they have been with Jesus. Nobody said, so who is Jesus? The moment they said they have been with Jesus, people accepted it. Why? Because Jesus at the time was an alternative power center, an alternative knowledge center in popular culture. He was an alternative knowledge. It wasn't some pitiable movement in a corner that cannot go mainstream. Every media was talking about Jesus. If Jesus was alive now, CNN would be interviewing him. He will be on Time magazine. He will be on all those, big platforms. You don't say you are a follower of Christ and you are hibernating in a corner trying to manage your material comfort and seeking welfare, from God as a powerless entity in the system. No, that's not what it is. The idea of faith was to represent an alternative power and knowledge center in the culture, right? Now, I always say to people that, for example, the Ethiopian eunuch took the gospel. This was aware of his African traditional religion. This was a chief in Africa. This is a leader in Africa, right? All the guys who talk about HCR now, they were not there. They are just reading about it. This guy was there. He was a leader of African traditional religion. He was an Ethiopian. He was one of the first people to receive. The gospel came to Ethiopia in almost the first month of after Pentecost. They were one of the earliest, even before he came to Europe. He came to Africa first. He came to Africa. The Ethiopian eunuch that they had to minister to, who then got born again and took that experience. Even on Pentecost Day, there were people from Ethiopia who were there, who spoke in tongues, who knew this African religion more than anybody talking about it now. They knew about it, and they converted all the same. And they took that gospel back to Africa. So it wasn't the white man that brought the gospel to Africa. The one he brought is compromised on many levels. We understand that. But he is not the one that brought the gospel to Africa. And I always say to people, listen, if what we had was enough, where was it when we were colonized? Because everything we call voodoo, everything we call jazz, went against the white man's gunpowder and lost. So, so let's be clear. There's something in that psychology that is not adequate to define the territorial integrity of African people across different geographies within Africa, right? So, so, so we need to sit down to say, how do we go forward? And just because you practice something, how do we then say that the reason why Africa will prosper is when we go back to African traditional religion? We see this religion today. We see its expression today. What is its value? What is its nation building component? Right? What is its capacity to impact on GDP and per capita income? Right? How has it been able to tell its own story and survive generations? Right? So God, on many levels, has to be able to propagate himself. It can't be at the mercy of man. So we can't say that, we are the owners of God, and then human beings came and disrupted God, and God became weak. And so we could not take God into the future again. Then something is wrong with that God. If it's God, it should be able to defend itself and propagate itself across different generations. It should not lose. And then human beings now became the excuse for his own enslavement. And God now says, I'm not well expressed in 2025 because the white man came. Who is the white man? We're talking about God here. So I mean, who is the white man? You should survive that. You should be able to take whatever it is you call religion, should survive the machination of any human movement. You see what I'm saying? So if you admit that colonialism and slave trade has destroyed that religion, and we need to now find our way back to it, then God lost. And that's not God. You see, we can go into this debate on many levels, but I always say to people, the only way to articulate movement is to see how the dimension of your belief impacts on 3 areas. My brother, 3 areas: relief, peace, and progress. Any God in your life that cannot define your meaning along these 3 lines must be weak, right? Must be weak. So whether you like it or not, you have to check. The monarch of the universe cannot be in a space, and that space cannot be defined by relief, peace, and progress, right? So we have to understand the powerlessness of religion. I say, it doesn't matter whether it's African traditional religion, it doesn't matter whether it's Christianity or Islam or Buddhism, it doesn't matter what it is. If you call it religion, right? Once you call it religion, it fails the test of universality and cannot sit in the future. And for Africa, though, what has happened to us is we have created a state of powerlessness based on the weakness of diabolism, based on the weakness of fetichism, animism, right? And we cannot define, we are now attempting on many levels in the name of religion to define our reality away from the working of our brain. And I always say to people, your most spiritual organ is your brain. Your brain is your most spiritual organ. It's your most, and I say to people, your brain functionally is more superior to your spirit. Your brain functionally is more superior to your spirit. And I'll prove it. I tell people, if your spirit is dead, even if you are spiritually dead, you can still be a billionaire. There are billionaires who are spiritually dead. There are very successful people who are wealthy, who are spiritually dead in that sense, because they don't worship anything in that sense. But their brain has created a lot in the world. So even if you are spiritually dead, you can still run a big corporation, you can run a bank, you can create Microsoft, you can build Apple, right? You can build Uwe, you can build companies across the world, even if you are spiritually dead. But if you are brain dead, you are useless to God, you are useless to the devil, you are useless to everybody. You cannot get anything done. If your brain is dead, you cannot pray, you cannot discern, you cannot interpret, You cannot take action. You cannot save anybody. You have no commitment. You have no responsibility. You have no essence. If your brain is dead, you are dead. How can you then tell me
Wow.
that your spirit is more important than your brain? Positionally, your spirit is more powerful than your brain. But functionally, your brain is superior to your spirit, and a partnership must exist between your brain and your spirit if you are going to communicate value to the world. So if I'm your son and you are a billionaire, my brother, if Lanre is a billionaire and I'm his son, because I am his son, I have inheritance automatically. I have inheritance. But because I am Lanre Olusola's son, and my name is Kunle Olusola, and I have access to all the billions that he has, right? It doesn't make me the inventor of anything in society. He doesn't make me better than anybody in society. The son of Bill Gates will not necessarily give us the next level of the internet. He has positionally, he has all the wealth of Bill Gates, but it doesn't mean he will communicate the relevance of Bill Gates, except he makes up his mind to supply a level of discipline and create products and services that can unlock usage and gratitude in the culture. If your contribution cannot unlock gratitude and usage in the culture, you are not relevant in the culture, right? So just because you are the son of Bill Gates gives you inheritance positionally, but it doesn't give you relevance and activity in the culture. So if you say you are a child of God, I respect you. Your spiritual connection is powerful, but the proof of your spirituality has to be products and services, philosophies, theories, ideologies, poems, systems, structures, organizations, institutions that you build in the world to unlock usage in the world and gratitude in the world. If your contribution is not doing that, then you are not spiritual. You are religious, no doubt. You are religious because religion is coercion. It thrives on ignorance, fear, and opacity. Spirituality is freedom. It thrives on relatability and connectedness. When you are spiritual, you are creating. When you are spiritual, you are contributing. When you are religious, you are taking. When you are religious, you are oppressing. When you are religious, you are creating limitation. When you are spiritual, you are creating freedom and liberation, and you are unlocking gratitude.
Wow.
So we have to understand these things. So the average African is now, if he has a problem right now, he will rather pray than think, because he thinks that thinking is not spiritual, that he has to accept a level of helplessness that a superior being must come and liberate. And in his hypocrisy, he will still call his brain God-given brain. In his hypocrisy, he will call the brain my God-given brain. But when it's time to create solutions, he will abandon that brain and expect some type of movement from heaven to come and solve his problem, forgetting that he has a God-given brain. So God must be a waster to give you a brain and not expect you to deploy it. I like a scripture in the Bible that says, he that wastes is a brother to him that destroys. So a waster and a destroyer are equal. They are siblings. So if God gives you something, he's not going to expect you to waste it. He gave you eyes, he gave you a mouth, a hand, a leg, a brain. And these are all instruments we must deploy, right? So the way we now articulate religion, we express it more, particularly in the African context. We express it more in pulling ourselves down, in attacking ourselves in the name of diabolism. Somebody asked me, PK, is jazz real? Is jazz real? Is voodoo real? Can somebody sit down in his house and call your name? And wherever you are dying. I said, then why didn't they call Lord Lugard? Why didn't they call Lord Lugard's name from a room and weaken him from the room? Why didn't they call the names of all these dictators that has ruled Africa? Why did they call their names and just weaken them from the room? How did slave trade work? Why didn't they call the slave traders and just call their names and then we move from there? How did slave trade work? How did colonialism work? when you have the power to call people from anywhere and just humble them from anywhere. You should have humbled the white man and put him in his place, right? You couldn't do that. That is on one level. The second level is, I actually answered and said, jazz work, but jazz only work through shared belief. It only works through shared belief. Anything works through shared belief. It's collaboration and teamwork. Even the Bible says that as long as they are one, nothing they imagine will be withheld from them. Anything works through shared belief. Once you and I have that shared belief, there's resonance to produce our intent, even if it is foolishness. We can have agreement to multiply our foolishness. We can multiply our stupidity by our resonance. There's nothing we cannot produce. We can produce evil at the highest level if we decide to create that. Even in good people, the potential for evil on a grand scale exists. And even in bad people, the potential for good on a grand scale exists, depending on how they are vibing and how they are resonating, right? The idea of coming together can produce anything. And so the reason why jazz did not stop, voodoo did not stop the white man, is because there was no shared belief. There was no shared belief. He doesn't share that belief. So when he came with his gunpowder, remember that it was gunpowder that colonized us. It was gunpowder. It was gun, and that gunpowder is no longer recognized in any warfare today. It's no longer recognized in any warfare. Now, that gunpowder, when it came, the African must have said, who is this? Brought out his psychology and then began to, say his incantations and repeat his signs. And said all those big words that we say, and then cast a spell on the white man. And the white man asked the interpreter, is he angry with us? They say yes. Boom, boom. You know what they say, when the going gets tough, the tough keeps going. I said that's an assumption. That is assuming he knows the way, right? When the going gets tough, the tough seeks collaboration. So he just can't keep going. So when he saw the gunshot hit Balogun, the leader of the war, and he fell down, he looked at him and said, what is this small metal? He borrowed himself wisdom and said, no, I'm not going to contain this enemy. He introduced collaboration. What do you want? Slaves? We can give you 54 from this wing. If I talk to the next king, we can produce 100 slaves for you in a month. And they began to work it out. What else can you add? Whiskey? Glass? What can you bring? You see, these things happen. We can't wish them away. They happen, right? So there is a weakness in all we articulated as power. And listen, we have to understand that there was a time arrow and bow was the weapon of the world. There was a time horses was a superior weapon in the world. Chariots were superior weapons. Just because something made sense yesterday does not mean it's going to continue to make sense tomorrow. You can't be so loyal to what has worked and forget it's going to change. Disruption is always on the horizon. And a lot of what we knew as power has been disrupted by technology today, right? So any form of power today that is intangible cannot be understood or interpreted in popular culture except you dimension it into a usable format. It becomes a product, it becomes a service. CNN will never interview a witch. They will never interview a high priest. CNN, Time Magazine is not going to put a witch on its front cover. If you are going to get on the front cover of Time Magazine, your witchcraft better produce the next level of social media. Your witchcraft better produce the next level of the internet. Your witchcraft better produce a cure to cancer. If you can't communicate a relevance to society that unlocks gratitude and usage, you cannot make it to mainstream conversation. You can't. And so I don't care what people call their religion. I don't care what they call their spirituality. I always say to them, if you are going to be relevant in the future, it's about culture shaping. If whatever you are communicating cannot shape culture, and what does it mean to shape culture? What does it mean to shape culture? To impact on 5 areas: the way we live, the way we love, the way we play, the way we walk, and the way we die. I'll take it again. The way we live, the way we love, the way we play, the way we walk, and the way we die. Whatever you are creating, call it Disney World, call it Apple, call it Microsoft, call it Google, call it X, call it Tesla. They are impacting on one of those 5 areas intentionally. And whatever you are doing that has no place in those 5 areas, culture shaping, whatever you are doing that cannot unlock gratitude and usage in the system, you are jogging very fast into irrelevance. You are making bold moves into yesterday, not the future. So we have to humble ourselves to begin to recognize that momentum is not necessarily progress. Movement can still be in the wrong direction. Progress plus movement in the right direction, that is progress. Momentum, motion plus movement in the right direction. And there's a lot of activity in religion, but it's a lot of powerful activities into the past, not into the future. And Africa, as far as I'm concerned, not just Africa, people everywhere that call on any system called religion must be able to represent it with a product, with a service, with a philosophy, with a theory. Somebody gave us capitalism. Somebody gave us democracy. Somebody gave us, productivity. Somebody gave us division of labor. Adam Smith, 1776, gave us division of labor. And people have come to give Nazism to the world, communism, socialism, terrorism. Everybody is creating unto good or unto evil. You have to produce something at the highest level that can unlock usage in the world. No matter what you want to do, whether you want to destroy the world or you want to fix it, you have to produce something. You can't sit in the middle, pitying yourself and thinking that you're going to be known or relevant. No. Your religion must produce, either unto good or evil. Production is a constant, right? Production, less consumption. That's capital formation. To form any form of capital, whether it's monetary capital, reputation capital, social capital, adventure, whatever the capital is, production is a constant. Constant. And I think that is the burden that religion brings. And Africa as a whole must come back to ask ourselves what the essence of a divine connection with a superior being must be. Right. We must ask that question.
Wow. And that is the next question. What does the future look like? The future of connection? The future of collaboration?
Yes.
The future of synchronization between spirit mind and soul mind?
Yes.
Rather than culture mind?
Yes.
Tradition mind and body mind, which is really what you are saying. Which is really what you are saying. Religion is.
Yes.
So spirituality is the dynamic that you create between hope, faith, love.
Yes.
And ensuring, right, that you are using spirit and soul mind.
Yes.
To add value to humanity, to shape culture, and to change the way that human beings live, the way that human beings die,
yes,
the way that human beings work, the way that human beings play. Wow, this is deep. So what does spirituality look like as we begin to round up?
Yes.
What does the future of spirituality, what exactly does it look like?
So first of all, it has to be less ossified, because like I said, there are 3 generations that are forcing a disruption of religion. 3 generations, right? First of all, there are 3 blocks of identification: changing people, changing markets, and changing generations. Those 3 things are forcing a disruption. Changing people is defined by technology. Technology, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, the possibility of singularity, the point where, artificial intelligence supersedes, biological thinking. That is another level. But I forecast the partnership, because I believe the next level of the internet is BrainNet. And I believe it is a partnership of AI and the human brain coming together to photograph at a level and change everything we've known about knowledge. And I think that it's not 200 years away. I think is 5 years away, in my view. I think by 2030, we are going to see a dimension that God has allowed, because we think that all of these things are demonic moves or antichrist moves. God is the giver of AI. God is the giver of AI. God wants artificial intelligence in the world. Without AI in the world, the mandate, the propagation mandate of God cannot be achieved in the world. The speed of change cannot be achieved in the world. We have to arrest time, because when you see the internet, it's essentially the arrest of time and space. That's what the internet is. It's the closest thing to the intangibility, the galactic experiences, or intangibility of eternity. The idea that we can have maximum interaction beyond the limits of matter, the things that have weight and occupy space. I mean, we can have this conversation. I'm in Dallas, you are in Lagos, we are having this conversation, right? We can't do this some years ago. I have to fly down, I have to travel down, I have to ride a camel for 8 months to be able to come and meet you to have this conversation. I have to fly a plane for 12 hours to be able to have this conversation some years ago. Even on our best advancement with a plane, away from a camel or a horse, I still need 12 hours of flight and risk my life, risk a plane dropping, burn time and energy to come and do this. Right now, technology has arrested time, arrested space, collapsed it completely, and we can have this conversation in a flat world. And right now, we can open this to the whole world right now, and we are in my private room, you are in your private room, the whole world will be in their private room, and all of us will be in public. Amazing. So public is not when you are physically outside the game. You can be in your bedroom and be in public, because time and space is arrested with technology. We can go on IG Live right now, and 2,000 people will be watching us live from their bedrooms. We are all in public and we are all in private at the same time. It's incredible what this is. If that is not spirituality, I don't know what it is. I say to people, listen, if Moses was shown, if Pharaoh was shown yesterday, if anybody can go to Pharaoh in the Bible and show him yesterday, they probably will add it to one of the 10 plagues. They probably will just come on. If Pharaoh could not see yesterday, if anybody landed in the wilderness and show the children of Israel yesterday, I don't know if you get what I mean. I mean, if you can show them what happened yesterday, they'll probably, somebody just came with, what did they do? They were worshiping goats. They were dropping their earrings because of absence. Absence created worship in the wilderness. Just ordinary absence. Because they couldn't see Moses, they began to worship goats. Imagine if somebody has brought a camera and showed them live how they were leaving the Red Sea. They will, because in Bible days, every form of mystery is greeted with devotion. If you have shown them a picture of yesterday, they will worship you. You will become a god. You'll be listed in history as one of the challenges of God, like they listed Baal. They will list you as one of them. You see, the idea is spirituality is about speed, affordability, and ease. Speed, affordability, and ease. Anything that creates such a diffusion of complexity into a usable, transferable format for people is a miracle. A miracle is not when Red Sea parts into two. No. In fact, the Red Sea parting into two is the drama of the miracle. It is not the miracle. The miracle is that a people moved from a point of impossibility to possibility. That is the miracle. And that is the principle. Now, every time a plane takes off from Lagos to London, he had crossed the Red Sea literally. That is the miracle. Now, he doesn't have the drama of the Red Sea, but he crossed the Red Sea faster, cheaper, at less cost, and moved people, right? So that is the miracle right there. So if we begin to understand that everything we call spiritual is yet to be understood science, and everything we call science is understood spirituality. Everything we call science is understood, explainable spirituality. And everything we call spiritual, God is not a mysterious being. He said, you know in part, you prophesy in part. When you come here, you will see things as they are. God is not a magician. Everything God does is explainable. It's just ahead of our time, so we can't understand it now. When we arrive there, in the Garden of Eden, God saw internet, but Adam cannot receive it. There was internet available for the world in the wilderness, but Moses cannot receive it. Elijah cannot receive it. Only the people of today can receive that, and that is why we have it. There's nothing in the universe that God does not anticipate. That is why they say there's nothing new under the sun. New is old happening to new people. New is old happening to new people. God is the ancient. The Bible said, do you see anything that you can say it is new? He said it has been in ancient times before us. With who? With the ancient of days. He knows that there is tree, there's paper in a tree. He knows. But in the Garden of Eden, Adam did not know that there was paper in the tree. God knew that you can make paper out of a tree. So paper, they could have been writing in the Garden of Eden, but Adam could not hack into that intelligence. Adam could not hack into that clarity. So we journey through civilization based on our capacity to hack into what is already existing. And that is the value of spirituality. Spirituality is a connectedness that allows you to hack into experiences that will determine if this thing will remain in the future or come into our present, right? So spiritual people must give us the cure to cancer. Spiritual people must give us traffic light. Spiritual people gave us the internet. They gave us the ink. They gave us paper. They gave us machines. They gave us the automobile. They give us different things. You can't be spiritual and not create. When you are spiritual, you must give us theories. You must give us innovation. You must give us the next level. Now, it doesn't have to be a machine. It doesn't have to be internet. It could be a theory. It could be a philosophy. It could be ideology. Somebody gave us democracy. Somebody gave us capitalism. Somebody invented all these ideas. We must understand that the proof of spirituality is newness. The capacity to navigate a people from a prevailing condition to a completely new condition. That's what spiritual people do. Now, the people who can do that the most are those who have that walking, talking relationship with the monarch of the universe. That is why I say to people, you can't say you are a child of God and be a consumer in the space of the world. You have to be a producer. The proof that you are working with the maker of the world is that you are producing. The problem is this, my brother. The problem is this. Moses was talking to God every day. Moses recorded that he was a friend of God, and Moses recorded that he was the meekest person on the face of the earth. He wrote it himself, and I believe him. It was his testimony, but I believe his testimony. And I'll tell you why. Because somebody who was talking to God every day, bro, was talking to God every day, he could not discern the intelligence of delegation. And God did not discuss the intelligence of delegation with him. He was talking to God every day. He had bragging rights of access to God on a daily basis. Yet, God did not discuss delegation with him. And he was suffering under the weight of administration. He was suffering with the burden of leadership. But he did not see delegation. Guess who brought delegation to him? Somebody who wasn't talking to God at all. Jethro. Jethro, who was more spiritual in a different dimension, because there are dimension and parallel universes to our interpretation. And Jethro, who was in another universe, connecting with God at a format that is not about devotion or obeisance or worship or reverence, but was connected to God, because we think spiritual connection requires obeisance. It requires worship. No. That is another dimension of connection. Just because you are not my son doesn't mean you can't be my staff. Just because you are not my son doesn't mean you can't be my staff. And there are people who are not God's children, who don't talk family, who don't talk devotion, who don't talk those with God, but they are God's workmanship regardless, and God speaks to them at a level that they don't even pick. Jethro had heard delegation from God. He came to Moses and said, Moses, you are suffering. You need to delegate. Get captains of 50, captains of 100. Let them have a leader. Break the group into this. And he gave Moses the wisdom. You know why I believe Moses' testimony of himself? If that was a man of God, if that was some men of God today, they would say, who are you, Jethro, to come and tell me? I talk to God every day. I talk to God every day. He didn't tell me about delegation. You are coming here. Come on, get out of here. Who are you? Have you ever spoken to God before? Have you heard God before? I saw burning bush.
Wow.
I saw burning bush. I brought fire from heaven. I created frogs in the whole of Israel. In the whole of Egypt. I turned the whole sea to blood. All the firstborn of Israel died at my of Egypt died at my word. Do you know who I am? Do you know my spiritual pedigree? Do you know my walking, talking relationship with God? You now come here to come and tell me how to what I should be doing. Moses did not do that. Moses did not even go to God to say, God, should I do it? Is it correct? He understood this straight as, ooh, this is God's voice. That's a spiritual man.
Wow.
That's a spiritual man.
Wow.
These are two spiritual people connecting, right? Without the paraphernalia of religion. Without the paraphernalia of religion. Two spiritual people connected. Moses knew this is a voice of God. This is God. And it did not come through fire, through smoke, through worship, through prayer, through anything. It came through everyday contemporary life of conversation. So spirituality is deeper. And so in navigating the future, right, God is making a new demand. And I say this to everyone that cares to listen. The next 5 years is going to be about the fading of powers and voices as we have known. I say this humbly. I say this very humbly. I started declaring this, as you know, Larry, since 2018. 2018, I said the next 10 years from 2020 to 2030 will be about the fading of powers and voices as we have known. Then the rise of powers and voices as we are yet to know. The rise of powers and voices as we are yet to know. The first is the fading of powers and voices as we have known. As we have known. And that is going to begin the fading of the strength of religion as we know it. And we are going to shift into the rise of powers and voices as we are yet to know. No-name boys and girls, men and women, rising to states of authority, influence at a level unprecedented. At a level unprecedented. We're going to begin to see the collapse of religious symbols. We're going to see titles losing meaning. Today, if you say you are pastor this, people greet you with suspicion, straight. When you say, I am pastor this, they begin to suspect you. Because the title called pastor, the title called evangelist, the title called prophet, and all of those titles, imam, all of those titles cannot survive those 3 generations again. They can't survive it. They have enough history of victory and mediocrity in the 21st century that it cannot pass. You are going to see pastors calling themselves life givers. You are going to see people who are soul creators, who are peacemakers. You are going to see all kinds of names that does not reduce the weight of spirituality, in fact deepens it, but is going to fail the test of religion, but it will pass the test of spirituality and faith. All of these things are going to begin to happen, and people are going to persecute it. Let's be clear. People are going to persecute it. The good thing about persecution is it strengthens resolve, it builds regimentation, and creates community, whether we like it or not. Anything you persecute is going to grow. So when God wants to grow something, He's going to permit persecution. Newness generates persecution. Persecution strengthens resolve and builds authority and grows community. So when people are being persecuted, they must not be bothered. It's God's instrument for growing newness. God will always allow Christianity grow because of persecution. No matter what is going through in your personal life, no matter what the devil is attacking, it is God's way of elevating your newness in a flawed world. You must have the capacity to endure persecution to navigate your next level.
Wow, 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 wow. This is a good place to end this conversation. Guys, a lot of stuff have been dropped. There are things that you cannot catch in just one conversation. But in these conversations, you have been taught many things, but you may catch only a few things. And you need to catch and you need to learn. And this is the key for you. Go back and listen over and over and over again. The world as we know it is changed, completely
Correct.
changed.
Completely.
The world as we know it has completely changed. The only way for you to survive, thrive, succeed, and become significant is if you can tap into spirit mind, soul mind, artificial intelligence, and tech mind, and use that combination to create value on the earth. This is the key for the future. Now, spiritual, everything that we call spiritual does not have any relationship with time and space. Now, technology is collapsed time and space.
Completely.
So technology and artificial intelligence is demonstrating what we call spiritual.
Correct.
And so we need a mind shift change for us to engage with what is coming. You cannot engage with what is coming with what you knew. You have to change every single thing you know.
Correct.
And you need to apply yourself. On that note, I want to thank you, PK, for again provoking us. I want to thank you for speaking from, it seemed like you had so much to say and you wanted to offload and pour every single thing out.
And I had to rush it.
And thank you. Yes, thank you very, very much for speaking from your depth. And I want to thank all the listeners for listening. And I want to thank you in advance for going back to listen again. Now, this is the Be Transformed podcast. If you've been blessed, if this conversation has been of value to you, you must make sure you don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you share it with everybody you know. Catch the replay on Spotify and Apple, and make sure that you engage with it over and over and over again. Guaranteed, your mind will be renewed, your mind will be transformed, and your life will never remain the same again. You have a wonderful day. Shalom.
Cheers, my brother.
I am successful. I look for and find opportunities where others see nothing. I am a lifetime learner. I am solution focused. I see only solutions. I am a solution.